Welcome to Best Practices for a Friends-Operated Bookstore, sponsored by FLS and co-sponsored by LTA. And now FLS curator, Karen Sparazza.
Hi. So Jeff Budge is currently the manager of the Friends Bookshop in the Saratoga Springs Public Library. Beginning his life in California, he and his family subsequently moved to New York City, where he earned a Bachelor of Architecture degree. He spent many years as an architect and interior designer, finally having his own firm employing 8 people. A move to Boston accompanied a change in career for him. He became a buyer for a major store chain, Child World and Children's Place. He bought boys' toys. As he's fond of saying, imagine every year my vice president would come to me, hand me a check for $10 million and say, go buy toys. After the chain went Chapter 7, Jeff found himself propelled into a third career, investment advisor, which work he carried with Shearson Lehman and Charles Schwab. He did this for many years in Boston and also in Newport, Rhode Island. Finally, fond of horse racing, he and his wife traveled to different racetracks around the country and made the decision to move to Saratoga Springs. As luck would have it, he wandered into the Saratoga Springs Public Library shortly after arriving and was offered the assistant manager job in the Friends Bookshop, moving up a year later to become the manager, a position he has now occupied for 10 years. One of Jeff's main goals as the Friends Bookshop manager has been to share the Friends experiences and the success of his Friends-operated in-library bookstore with any Friends organizations interested in learning how to do this or improve their own book-selling operations. I am pleased to present Jeff Budge.
Hi, everybody, and thank you to Nyla and everybody for putting this program together. It kind of fulfills a dream for me, as mentioned, that sharing knowledge is one of the great things that we can do together. And since our shop has been through so much, I'm happy to be a resource for anyone who has particular questions or needs any help along the area of developing a bookstore that is profitable and that meets community needs. So here I am, best practices for a Friends operated bookstore. And I get a lot of questions on this, but obviously we're the Friends of the Saratoga Springs Public Library, but humble beginnings. You have to start somewhere. And occasionally it's a simple cart like this, somewhere in the library with maybe just a cigar box for donations. Maybe someone is sitting there to talk to. But if you get a start anywhere, that's the right way to go. And it's certainly, I think, maybe even the way we started. Our library was built in 1995. Before that, we were about a block and a half away. And in 1995, this facility was built, and the Friends literally started off with something that looked like this. And we sold books. I don't even know what the price was, but it was a humble beginning and was a good way to start. So advice number 1 is just start if you possibly can. All right, there's 3 paths that people use when they go the revenue producing route. One is having an in-library bookstore, which is what we're especially talking about today. Then there's other libraries that I've been in touch with, and you probably know, that have large outdoor sales, usually twice a year. And they've got volunteer corps that come in sporadically for those twice a year events. And these produce a large amount of money, so revenue is generated that way. And then there are those fortunate enough that have enough storage space to store books and have a store within a library facility. So that's a win-win situation in that case. I know for us here in Saratoga, outdoor sales are extremely tough because of the real estate values. and what we'd have to pay to do something like that. But also for other areas of the country where real estate values or storage space is not as expensive, option 2 with the outdoor sales is very possibly an add-on for everybody. So that's the major ways that you can do this kind of thing. Okay, so we get to the magic ingredients. Number 1 is interested people. Number 2 would be coordination with the library director. I can't stress how important this is. Our library director here at Saratoga Springs Public Library, Ike Pulver, has always been a supporter of the Friends organization and of what we do here, and has worked with our board, which is the third thing mentioned here, the formation of a Friends board. And the Friends board works directly with the library director to determine future courses for an in-library bookstore. So that's a good thing to have, is that kind of communication, and it all starts with the interested people. Okay, space, the final frontier. Yes, we're going to start small, and this could be a few people and a couple of people organizing a board. And whenever it happens, that's going to grow. And as that happens, people are going to gain experience. And eventually, whatever little cart area you had, hopefully will grow into a larger space if possible. And in the meantime, also too, people are going to want to donate books. That's how the lifeblood of any organization, bookstore, excuse me, in the library is donations from the public, which come in free. So basically, you're dealing with free merchandise, and that's an important consideration when trying to set up something. So talking about donations, your lifeblood, I'm just going to explain a little bit about how we do that here and what it all means. This is actually a picture of the room I'm sitting in. In the back corner behind me is what we call our donations area. And we have a small room here, which we do a lot of work out of. And again, it's a matter of space, but we basically have a shop and we have a sorting room. And what you're looking at here is near the door of the sorting room, there's also a mail slot where people can drop an occasional book off, or whether someone can open the door for them and they can bring in a few boxes of books to go ahead and donate that way. So as you can see, the donations are piled up. And this, as you can see, also requires almost daily attention because of the amount of donations you get. Some people may not get a lot. This may not be a problem. Some people may get a lot more. So you have to go with the ebb and flow of this and have a feel for it as to determining what kind of space you need for donations and how you handle it. We ran into a problem where we were getting so many donations at one point that the fire marshal started to complain. So we have a rule of donating, if you have to donate 4 boxes or over, then we need to make an appointment for that. And that alleviated that problem. To that, we constructed an appointment sheet, which you can see here. Any donation larger than 3 boxes. And we do AM and PM. We'll do 1 large donation a day. When we're here, I'm here during the week, Monday through Friday. On weekends, the person at the desk would be responsible for opening a door and briefly leaving the desk to let people in with a larger donation. But this is the way we control it. We have a callback telephone number. If we have a problem, we can rearrange a large donation. Since we've implemented this, though, we've been in compliance with all fire regulations, which is an extremely important part of your workspace. And that's how we do it. We also, if a customer asks for a donation receipt form, we have that form available at the desk. Our desk personnel hand that out to whoever requests one. Not everybody does, but if you do need one, basically all we do is we fill in the date up here, and we sign received by down in the bottom corner there. The rest, all of this is in the middle. The quantity of everything is filled in by the customer. We're not accountants, and we don't report anything. We let the customer on an honor system fill in what they have donated. That's how we handle it. Okay, so management and volunteers. I guess that is a key as you're building the organization up the logical next step to take a look at this. You'll need a manager, and depending on the size of complexity, an assistant manager. We have both here at the library. I'm 30 hours a week, and we have an assistant manager who runs 15 hours a week. And there's so much to do here that this is what's important to us. Each organization will vary according to the time they'll need and the complexity of the organization. And you'll need volunteers. And that number is organic. And I'll tell you the story of how we did it is that when I became manager, I inherited about, I would say, 40 volunteers. And when we moved to our new space, we had an older space in the library there. When we finally moved to our existing space, the complexity of the volume of material moving in that had to move out to the shop, and consequently, as new material came into the shop to move out of the shop, required a certain number of volunteers to keep everything moving. Otherwise, our sorting area here would absolutely blow up. And we certainly didn't want that to happen. So the volunteer corps grew. And basically what my management philosophy here is that you keep adding volunteers until you have reached a magical point where it seems like you've got all of your bases organized. And you'll discover as you grow with your shop, things that need to be done that you hadn't thought of. In that case, adding a volunteer to fill additional volunteer positions is important. Give you an example of that. For instance, we have one volunteer that specializes in Excel spreadsheets and Excel work, which you'll be seeing a lot of during this presentation. But it comes in extremely handy because I can give her projects to do I don't have time for, and she can put Excel and presentation spreadsheets together for our organization. We even have an obituary specialist who lets me know by email when someone famous in the book world dies, so we can go out and feature their books in the store. So you'll figure all this out as you grow, but that's why I call it organic, and it will become evident as you continue on the path. And then you'll need to establish some shop hours. Once you get your volunteers fixed, there's going to be a desk, and there's going to be a cash register, and there's going to be shifts. And once you establish your shop hours, you're going to be able to determine how many volunteers you're going to need for your shifts during the day. There are some days where we have as many as 4 shifts, and on weekends, on a Sunday, for instance, we only have 1. Saturday, we have 2. So you will have between 3 and 4 shifts during a weekday and 1 to 2 shifts on a weekend, depending on your library hours. Our basic hours of operation are 1 hour after the library opens, and we close 1 hour before the library closes, with the exception of the dead in winter, when we close a couple hours earlier than the library because of the health and care concerns for our volunteers. Go to the next slide. All right, cashiers. These volunteers need to be specially trained to operate the cash register. To that, I always have a visual manual available for the cashiers, and we have them come in before they take their first shift, and I train them on a second register in our training room here, and they also shadow with an existing cashier so that they can experience the day-to-day life, the day-to-day life during a typical shift, so they can get familiar with how things work at the desk. So we have openers, we have midday cashiers, and we have closers. Now, closers do have to be specially trained because basically they're taking all the money that's in the register at the end of the day and determining a final closure sheet, which will show how much the bookshop earned during a particular day, and how much was cash, how much was charge cards. We'll get to all that as the presentation goes on, but they would require special training. Usually takes them about half an hour after the shop closes in order to reconcile the final day's receipts. So basically separating out the volunteer corps, we have shop volunteers. They basically keep the shop going with incoming books, and they price new books and they weed books from the shelves. Now, this is important because what we have is we have what we call shop department heads, and we have boxes in our sorting room. And what they what they do, the shop department heads, is they come in once a week and grab their boxes and go to the particular area of the shop that they're interested in, i.e. cookbooks, history, whatever a shop department head's interested in. I assign that section in the shop to them. And they're responsible coming in, grabbing their boxes and working their magic. I'm the first to say that I don't know everything about all the categories in the shop. These people become experts. And by doing so, and by giving them the responsibility of taking care of their sections, you are going to wind up with a super sharp bookshop. That inventory is constantly changing for the better, and it's an extremely wonderful thing to have happen. So, excuse me one second. Okay, so the sorting room volunteers, this group, obviously we get a lot of donations coming in, and this group rough sorts them into the areas for the shop volunteers, i.e. the shop department heads. That's basically what goes on with the volunteer corps in that respect. Okay, volunteer perks. This is kind of nice. The Friends of the SSPL are constantly looking for different ways to not only make this a fun place to work, which is my motto and tenet as manager, but also they get the perks that I've listed here, nice of which is 50% off all items for sale in the shop after 10 hours of service. The library is kind enough to throw in a waiver of late fees. And we do have a volunteer recognition program where at the end of the year, we try and give a little gift card, local shops, 2 local shops, I should say, in different amounts, depending on the volunteers' years and contribution, as a thank you from the Friends to the volunteers. This is our way of saying that not only being a volunteer here is a fun place to work, but also it comes with a few benefits that we can provide. We also schedule volunteer meetings twice a year, which run in 2-day blocks. This is a great opportunity for me. I'm over here at the bottom of the table with my coffee, and able to talk with all the volunteers and go through what the shop is up to, what direction is coming from the Friends board, the kinds of things we're contemplating doing, and an update on things that we have done, and also to meet each other. Not everybody being spread out with their shop schedules has a chance to get together and meet each other. So this is a really good time to talk about things, throw out new ideas. I know I come away from all of these meetings with many, many new ideas, and some really, really good ideas are included in that. So this is an excellent way that we do things. And we do, as I say, we do it 2 days during the week, twice a year, so that everybody can try and fit in and attend some of these meetings. Okay, well, I remember when I first came to the shop, we're basically mom and pop, and everything was done by hand. There wasn't a computer or laptop, and the first thing I realized that we needed to do was to formalize the operation, was to computerize. And so you're going to want to do that after you've got your feet on the ground. It's help immensely with contact lists and monthly schedules. So my advice to you is to purchase a laptop. They're easily portable if you need to go somewhere with it, either in the library or whatever, to have something that is portable rather than a more traditional tower. Okay, revenue streams. This is a good thing to talk about as well for a Friends organization. Okay, the number 1 revenue stream that we have, of course, is the bookshop, where we sell donated books. And we've enlarged our focus to include media as well, which sell very well. DVDs, CDs, vinyl records. The cassettes and the VHSs have, and certainly 8-tracks have gone goodbye through the years, but we do sell these things, and interestingly enough, the library gives us a lot of their donations. That's one of the nice back and forths that we have with our library. I'm invited in to select DVDs and CDs that they're weeding from their collection. So we have an excellent collection of things there to sell in addition to our books, and they provide additional revenue. I talked about the Friends memberships. Talk about Friends perks, volunteer perks, but Friends memberships are another our second largest revenue stream. So basically, what we do is when someone comes in the shop, we ask, are they a friend? And a lot of people by now are, but if they're not, we explain the benefits of being a friend, such as special discounts and sales, and various other things that they can get. And they sign up to become a friend for various levels of membership, which range from about $15 to $100 or more. And this would be the second largest revenue stream of our Friends organization behind the bookstore. And special events, there's a special events committee on the board that organizes little events like a field trip, or maybe a restaurant would give us 10% of their revenues on a given evening, that kind of thing. So mom and pop, so this is what I inherited when I first came on as our weekly shift schedule. And needless to say, it was, I didn't want to do that. So getting the computer was kind of a great thing. And you can see Jan's name in yellow. She was the former assistant manager before I became assistant manager and then manager. And whenever she couldn't fill a shift, she volunteered for it. But we have a much better system now where I can call on volunteers who will come in and fill shifts in a much better way. So now that's been formalized, and our new Friends volunteer schedule looks something like this. So you can see the difference. What's nice is you can program and computerize the cells for the dates 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. through the end of the month. And depending on which day you start, you put in the first number and all the other ones just fill in because they're formulated. So this is the sheet we use now, and you can see it's a far cry different and a little bit more organized, and works a lot better for us. Well, cash is king, but now we start thinking about other additions we can make to the store. And one good one would be a credit debit card machine. This has grown to about 30% of all of our transactions. It's very convenient, especially with the new age, younger millennial people coming in who don't know what cash is and have a card, and everybody uses it and they get reward points, and it all turns into a happy story. So we added one, and the effect on sales was positive. Also, when a friend wants to do a membership, which could be $20, $50, $100, it's easy just to run a separate transaction using a card for that amount of money. They may have come in and expected to spend $5 or $10, but a card makes it handy to sign up some of our better membership brackets. So to that, we also, when you decide you're going to get a charge card machine, you're going to go out and get a third-party vendor. We use MPX. There's probably one in your area. Basically, what they do is they set this whole thing up, and you pay a fee for them to handle all the transactions through the company, and you get a report every month that shows how much was charged by what charge card, what your fee is, and this is what makes it all possible. Not the best picture of our charge machine, but it's simple to use. And this is how we accomplish making it easy for our customers. Oh, the icing on the cake, here we go. Fourth major revenue stream. We talked about 3 other ones to begin with, the shop, the membership, and special events. Online sales. Okay, basically, I'm gonna talk quite a bit about this. What you're gonna do is, again, start small. What we did is, like, we'd find a book that was donated that looked like it was worth a lot of money, and go to Amazon.com and you just look up the book, see its price it in the shop, and see what happens. What we wound up doing was getting a book we saw was $150. We put it in the shop for $100 and it wouldn't sell. And then we'd have a 50% off sale for $50 and someone would buy it and it'd be gone. They go online and sell it for $100, $150. So after a few years of having that happen, we started to accumulate what we thought were valuable books, and we decided that we wanted to go to online sales. and we analyzed what was out there, and we decided to go with Amazon as being the key stream there. And that's probably what you will decide as well. So once you do that, you're going to set a minimum price you want to sell a book at. Theoretically, you could sell every book that's donated, but you have to spend time wrapping and shipping it. So the assistant manager and sometimes myself will do that, which is wrapping, bringing it up to the post office and shipping it. And so we vary our lowest price from $8 to $10. Your price may be different. Below that, it really is kind of as a shop item. Doesn't pay for us to go to the trouble to list it and wrap it and sell it. To wit, you're going to have to purchase mailers and bubble wrap and wrapping paper. And we have a tax-exempt account at Staples where we buy quite a few of our mailing goods. And then we also buy the mailers and boxes from Uline for the rest of our shipping needs. So also too, this was kind of interesting that when you make up your library, you have all your mailers and your supplies, and what you want to do is print up a whole sheet of your return address labels. Make sure at the top that it has the library name on it. So Friends of the Saratoga Springs Public Library, Friends Bookshop, 49 Henry Street. By saying Friends of the Saratoga Springs Public Library at the top of our label, we get what's called the library rate, which is cheaper than the media rate. And I would say in a typical Amazon, Amazon gives you $3.99 for shipping, or most of we're shipping at $2.56. So having that library name on your label is a great way to get that library rate. And then look up any books you and your volunteers think might have value. That's just what we do on an ongoing basis. I'll explain that. We've honed that system a little bit better. Okay, so now we've reached the major leagues, and we've got to put this whole thing together. So what you're going to do is you're going to find one or two people who want to know how to list books, or who may know how, or who can, and those can be trained if they don't. We were lucky enough to have a retired book dealer who was a volunteer that stepped right into listing, had tremendous experience, and we trained many listers since. We're also lucky enough to have one of our shop people come in who was an expert on signed books and has her own shop on Amazon, but she was happy to help us out. She's an expert on signed books and first editions. That comes in very, very handy. So if you can fill those two slots and then have some other listers, you're going to be in great shape. Open an Amazon account. This is not hard to do. It doesn't take much at all. And then also to open an eBay account. And this is great for selling media. What happened was a few years ago, Amazon came on and said they got their Fire Stick going, and they all of a sudden wanted to know where we bought all of our CDs and DVDs from, and they wanted us to send them slips as to purchase slips. And we told them, look, we get all of our sales as a volunteer, as a donation, excuse me. And so that we couldn't provide that. And so they took all of our, most of our media inventory offline. And so eBay is the way to go there. So you're going to need somebody who's good at eBay selling to come in and help you. And we have volunteers to do that as well. So eBay for media, and occasionally books won't be listed on Amazon, so you can also list those on eBay. That's the final part of the equation. Most of your selling will be on Amazon. I would say probably 90% of our sales are Amazon oriented, 10% media on eBay. Okay, so how do we do all this? We have to have a revelation. It's going to cost you something. You're going to have to purchase a scanner and a smartphone package. So we did a lot of research on this, and I found a company called A Seller Tool, which we use. And for $299, we purchased a scanner and a smartphone package, which what the third parties do is they give Amazon an amount of money, so Amazon will give them their database, and then they turn around and they sell you a smartphone with a link to their database, so you can get Amazon's database downloaded onto your smartphone for a charge of $35 a month. You can use the download as much as you want. We do it once a week. but that database is downloaded. And what's nice too is that you can program your smartphone. We talked about that $8 to $10 minimum, but you can set it, program it a bunch of different ways. I'll show you some slides coming up as to how we do it. But depending on how fast the book will sell, you can afford to sell it for a little bit less. That's pretty cool. This is a great thing. This is a picture of the smartphone at the top and the scanner there. Basically, at the end of the scanner, you get your barcode and you hit the button and you set your smartphone to program it. And what will happen is, when you set it, is if it meets your criteria to sell, the phone will make a cashier ring sound for you. So you don't have to look at a screen. You can just scan and wait for that magical ring. It's the sound of profits. Wonderful. Here's a couple bad pictures I took, but I wanted to show you just a couple of things that you have your settings where you can do and profit triggers, and to download the database is here, which I do every Monday morning. And then over here, you can roughly see on the right side that we go by Amazon sales ranks. And the lower the sales rank on Amazon, the better the book sells. So if a book's #1, it's the hottest selling book on Amazon. And Amazon has a database of some 60, 70 million books. So by the time you get down into the higher numbers of sales rank, you're going to really want to pay some attention to how you program this phone, because your storage facility for holding Amazon books that are online is going to be limited, and you can't afford to not show discretion when you program this phone. So we take $1.5 million here, and we're $12, which includes $4 shipping. So that brings you down to $8. Up to $5 million, we do it $16 or $12 plus $4 shipping, and 20 million above, it's got to be $18 or better. We don't want to hold it if it's not worth at least that much. You can program this. It's got 10 or 12 programmable functions. It's very beautiful. Again, and how you set up your phone with the menu here, you can set up on the left. You can set up that phone to go ka-ching every time that it meets one of these program criteria. This is fantastic. All right, the result. Well, in the 1 year we've been using this now, our Amazon sales practically doubled from $16,000 to $30,000. Does that sound expensive now? $299 plus $35 a month? Heck no. It's the deal of the century. And basically what you want to do is assemble a way to capture all of those sales. I'll explain how we do that. But Amazon sales now represent 33% of our total store revenue. This has come extremely handy in this COVID period where we were not able to open our store. Our store is still not open, but we're achieving thousands and thousands of dollars of sales since I was allowed into the library on June 19th. So having this online business, in case something happens to the shop, not that it would, has proved to be a boon and a wonderful thing to have. The scanner, by the way, can also be used to scan media items, which then would have to pass an eBay test as well. We look up pricing on eBay. Has perfection been attained? I wish I could say it was at this point, but unfortunately, it's a barcode scanner that you're purchasing, and so it only scans books with a barcode. Barcodes came into general use in the mid-1970s, so you would think, oh, this is great. If all your donations are 70s or newer, you're in business 100%. But roughly half of our donations that we have coming into our bookshop are barcodes, and roughly half aren't. So what you have to do is you have to establish how you're going to handle that. And what we do is we basically turn up every book that has a barcode on some carts every day. We scan it. Those that don't have a barcode get put into some big roll-up bins that we have in our shop. I'll show you a little bit of that later. And we have a team of people that come in on the Amazon team, spend time every day during the afternoons looking up books that don't have barcodes. The idea is to capture all of your potential Amazon sales in the back room before it gets out to the shop. And that's what we do, and that's how our success story is built on that. Okay, now we'll get to the two main goals of a friends organization. This we find to be very important. First is to sell merchandise in the store and help the library with ongoing projects for their wish list. And what happens is we accumulate money during the year, and the goal of the Friends is to help the library, of course. And at the once a year, the library director comes to the Friends board with a laundry list of wish list projects that the library cannot fund, even though they have funding. These are kinds of things that they would love to do. And the Friends go through it and pick out as many as they can, and they fund the library, and it's a win-win, happy situation. And then benefiting the community. Our Friends board is dedicated to that. The library is dedicated to that. We do that through sales to the public. We do that through very reasonably low price store items in the shop sales, and donations. Again, I'm doing this donations area. I've shown these slides, I moved them, so I'm just going to pass through this. So we have 2 outreach programs that we use. Obviously, we're moving inventory from our bookshop, and also we are getting new inventory in all the time, and we're selling stuff, obviously. So one of the things that we do is with books that they're nice books, but they just haven't sold, we try and find outreach programs. We have 2. Basically, we have a couple of volunteers that handle one of them, and they come into the shop every week, and we have boxes ready for them, and they deliver to not-for-profit organizations in our immediate area. This is a great way to deliver books to the community. And the library also has an outreach program, which is Better World Books. Ostensibly, Better World does ship to Africa and various Asia and various other parts of the world, but most of their items wind up online for a very little bit of money. And the library gets 15%, I think it's either 10 or 15% of whatever Better World Books sells. They get a check every month from them. So we contribute heavily to that. The people that do our outreach program wrap up Better World Books. So in that way, we funnel an awful lot of excellent material that produces happiness in our neighborhood and revenue for the library. Then you're growing in size still. I mean, these are all the things that happen. And you're going to need 2 more things, kind of a human resources component, and then organizational report accountability. As you grow, everybody's going to want to have a sharper eye as to what you're doing, including the IRS. They're going to want to see your tax situation if you have to pay tax. They're going to want to see cash register tapes. They're going to want to see all kinds of things. Bigger you get, the more you're going to be in that eye of scrutiny. So human resources, we use a volunteer application form, which is extensive. You'll get a copy of that in your PDF with a lot of other stuff, obviously. We do a background check. We call on references. We also have volunteers sign a code of conduct and guidelines, and we keep all of these documents on file for each volunteer. Organization reporting. We've developed 6 monthly major reports. One of the great things about a Friends board is they have a lot of expertise, and during the years, various boards have really helped me and run the shop in terms of our reporting. We obviously had reports from the beginning, but we finally honed these over the years, and I'm happy to be able to share all of this with you. because I think you can always improve on something, but I think at this point we've got some pretty good reports going. Listed them here: the petty cash report, self-evident, we have to buy supplies, etc. A flash report, which basically shows what we've earned during the day, how much of it was cash, how much of it was charge cards, etc., and what the total amount for each day was, and we do that by month. Sales, these are all monthly reports, by the way. Sales tax report, this is important. Basically what happens here in my locale, Saratoga County, is what's called the brick and mortar rule. Apparently, a lot of people say, well, Jeff, you're a not-for-profit organization. Why are you charging sales tax on books you sell in your store? And that's because that New York State, has a tax regulation that says if a not-for-profit buys anything, you're good. But if you sell anything from a brick and mortar establishment, i.e. inside a library, which is what we're talking about today, you have to pay state sales tax. If we took this out to the parking lot and did a big sale out there and got a yard sale exemption, we're not brick and mortar, we would not have to charge sales tax. But we do in the store here, so that's why we have a sales tax report. Amazon sales report just lists our Amazon sales for the month. My manager's monthly report pulls everything together from all the various sources of these other reports, and I'll show all of these to you, and we come up with a summary report which consolidates everything. The friends use Box Cloud to input these reports, so everybody on the board and we here at the organizational level of the bookshop can see these reports on a monthly basis. So to give you a rough overview of what we do, and this is not to scare you, I just put everything together on one sheet so you can see how we've analyzed all the different parts of our organization. These are flow charts which explain exactly what we do and how we do it. These are useful, not only for you to learn how to do it, but also there will be a day when I won't be manager anymore and someone's going to step in and have to see these charts. So anyway, breaking them down a little bit, just an overall view of the board of directors, manager and assistant manager, and the things, basic main sections that we do in the shop. You can basically read these, but fiction, nonfiction, children's, media, Amazon, 25-cent sales, outreach programs, shop cashiers, shop maintenance. Then we have our sorters who get a bunch of donations coming in. We count all of the donations, so we have a count book. That's a manual thing that we do. Not the best, but it's at least a way of keeping track of how many donations we get a month. And basically what you're looking at is the areas of the room that our sorters take that pile of donations that you saw and put them into different areas depending on what they are, so that our shop department heads and people that need to access their boxes can use them. And these are the various areas that we use to put those. Our department heads then come in, they pick up their boxes and they go into the shop and they basically do what chart you're looking at here. Generally, if they make decisions, I said, as to books that are better than the ones that they have on the shelf, they make decisions on pricing. They take out the old books. Those go to our outreach program. Shop maintenance, we have people that keep the shop neat and determine a lot of different things. We have fiction and nonfiction. That we have people that deal with all of those different departments and make sure that books are edged, that inventory is not leaning, that we even dust, all that kind of good stuff. Donations, we have our basic chart here of how we handle donations. And again, if boxes are delivered, we pick them up down at the maintenance dock door because of the weight. I'll go down with a dolly and offload cars at the maintenance dock if it's 4 boxes or more. If it's less than that, we ask people to come to the shop and deliver everything in terms of donations. Online sales is quite the operation. This chart explains everything, but basically we separate it into signed and unsigned books, and then our signed lister is off-site, so she comes once a week and picks up her boxes, prices them at home and returns them, and the rest of it all is done in the library itself. Then we talk about reporting. Okay, well, this is again the mind-boggling shot of all of our reports that we do. Not meant to be scary. I will break these down for you independently as well. This is the extent of what we do in terms of when we report. So here's our petty cash report, and you can see we'd like to start off with the balance that's now been increased up to $250. And as we draw down on that, we keep track of that, so that we code it as well, whether it's supplies, postage, equipment, etc. And we keep track of that on a monthly basis. And when we get down to about $50, see here on April 20th, I don't know if my cursor shows or not, but at $42.82, we get a replenishment to equal up to $250. This is our flash report. goes through how much we make a day, whether we're over or under in terms of our closeout sheet, and charge cards, deposits, items that we sell. Keep track of that. The cash machine itself, the cash register, will keep track of how many transactions and how many items we sold during a day. That information is transposed to the sheet. It's very useful. And we count our bank periodically to make sure that our money is there. So this report encapsulates all of that. Then we have to do a tax report. And basically, again, some daily basis here. You see non-tax sales. Okay. That's because we have dealers come into the shop or not-for-profit organizations that are tax exempt. And so on the register, you have the opportunity to enter sales either under taxable or not taxable. When they're non-tax, they get registered with a dealer slip filled out to match the transaction. Those are accounted for separately, but we do list what our taxable sales and our non-taxable sales are here for you. This is just a list of Amazon sales for April of 2020. The list went off the page. Basically gives you basic information. We use this as a record. I actually don't go to this very often, but if we ever wanted to, we can see that kinds of details. Sometimes the board asks me, like, what's the average price of a book that we sell on Amazon? Through these reports, I'm able to go back and run an idea of answers to questions like that. All right, so here's the manager's report. This is what I do once a month based on information that we get from the flash sheet, et cetera. And what we do, we establish our fiscal year target at the top there. And then we do year-to-date gross receipts by month and the target and what percentage of target reached. Then we break it down into the gross shop receipts, which include donations and 25-cent sales by month, and our Amazon sales to boot. And this is before we got our machine. The year to date on the Amazon sales was back there at 16,722. And we add up the total gross receipts. Our shop has been fortunate enough to, for the last 4 years, earn over $100,000 gross. When I first became manager, I think we were about 80,000 or so. So hopefully some of the things that we've done here have obviously shown up on the bottom line. And again, here's your transactions, Z-tape we call it, store transactions, so you know what's going on there, and items sold in store. We also run that number of shop receipts per transaction, which shows on the average transaction at the desk how much that is. And the average for the year, for this particular year, was $9. We're about up to $10 now, which is also, by the way, the minimum amount we use for the charge card is $10. Then we keep track of our book and media donations below. And at the bottom of the sheet, we do comments during the year of important events that happen. Then the summary sheet takes everything into account, and we pull through Excel formulas from all the other sheets key information to extract so we can have an idea of our income, our operating expenses, and various other things that are of importance to the board and to our accounting as a summary for the month. Another thing we do is an annual budget sheet. Again, something important. You want to be able to sit down based on what you've done in the last years, forecast what you're going to be doing for the next year. A lot of this is guesswork. It was pretty easy in terms of Amazon. Once we got our scanner, that we were going to have to add a lot more money to the Amazon program for supplies and shipping, because you can imagine if we're going from $16,000 to $30,000, that those numbers are going to go up. So these are all numbers. Some of them are fixed. Some of them are variable. You'll notice on wages, I just put variable. I am on salary, as is my assistant manager. There are some libraries where the manager and possibly an assistant manager aren't on salary. It depends on your organization, the size of it, the complexity of it, and what they feel the value of a manager or a manager, assistant manager might be. But anyway, I just wanted to show you a few years of our annual budget sheet to give you an idea of kinds of things we break down. There's other things you can do with it, but this is an example of what we do. We also keep a monthly expense sheet, which kind of ties in at the end of the year to the numbers that we put into that budget sheet that I showed you before. And what's handy about this is that at the end of the year, when you're trying to figure out what you've done during the year, you don't have to go back and try and put all this paperwork together from all these previous months, because we do this once a month. So this is a great thing to do, because then by the end of the year, you've gotten your numbers and the year total of what we've spent. And that really, really helps in terms of making your budget sheet projections for the next year. Great thing to do. And we do studies because we like to know our business. I had a couple of studies done. This is my Excel spreadsheet person, pulled all this together. But basically what we did is we said, I want to know hour by hour what the average transaction in our shop is in dollar amounts. So you can see that, we have pretty strong morning hours from 10 to 12. And then some very good hours between 12 and 5 at the end of 5 o'clock, and it trails off at 5 o'clock. So for instance, we're using this sheet during the reopening of our shop to say, okay, given the choice of what we have to do and keep volunteers spaced out, we want to be able to put our shop people in on either the morning or the afternoon and open the shop vice versa. So it's easy to look at this chart and say, okay, our shop people are going to come in the mornings, and then we're going to open the shop up at 12 or 1 o'clock and have shop hours in the afternoons to start off with, to keep people safely and socially distanced. We also do run this as well for Saturday and Sunday hours. The 1 to 4 hours are much more here because, as you can see on the right, I say Saturday and Sunday, where Saturday only is those other 3 hours. We run 2 shifts on Saturday. Once again, though, just nice to have all of this information visible and ready for use if you need it. Okay, Book Sale Finder. This is really interesting now. Book Sale Finder is an organization that collects all of, let's say, our sales that we're having and everybody else's sales in the New England area, and puts out a list to everybody online so that you can see, okay, so-and-so has a sale this day, so-and-so has a sale that day. And many years ago, they did a very, very interesting study, which was a survey of charity groups who run used bookstores. And they had many, many pie charts. They asked many, many questions. They really delved down into what was going on with bookstores and people who did parking lot sales or whatever it was. This is one of many pie charts that they had. The study is 10 or 11 years old. They never did another one. But it gives you a rough idea. We're on the over 100,000 category. So back then, we would have been in the top 2% of all revenue producing stores that were surveyed. I would propose to Nyla and everyone that maybe this is something that we could work together to do, to poll the New York libraries and friends associations to maybe get a poll out there to get some key information back so that everybody could be on a level playing field, and have some great diagrams that would kind of explain where everybody is, what they could do, and what other people are doing. So I'm putting that thought out there for everybody. And hopefully we can do a new study. It'll be one of my really big goals in my bucket list, to be able to do something like this that would help everybody. Okay, so a key question I get asked all the time is, Jeff, what happens with all the donations? And I studied that. So here we go. Here's the disposition. Last year we had 83,000 items, including books and media, donated to our store. Our shop sold 33,000 of them. We sold 7,000 through 25-cent sales. We had about 630 Amazon sales during the year. It's actually, I think, a little bit more than that. But Anyway, roughly 40,000 items out of 83,000 were sold. Then we talk about inventory, which you always have to have. And basically, between Amazon, our online programs, and shop inventory, our shop holds 18,000 books. We basically take care of another 20,000 of that 80,000. Then we talk about our outreach programs. Better World, 9,000 books. And our Friends Outreach Program, that's the personal one that I run to the community, 6,000. You're talking another 15,000. So that, in essence, after you take 83,000, you subtract those numbers out, the total items that we recycle or discard a year out of 83,000 is 8,000 items. That's roughly 10% of items that cannot be used. A lot of those items, frankly, the spines are broken, they smell, they're moldy even. We get yard sale sales come in at the end of the year. They're just awful. And we've got to get rid of them. But I'm very proud of the fact that only 10% of the items donated cannot be used. And running the numbers with the gross sales per year divided by the items sold, every item donated, our shop earns $1.27. This is very, very good for the community to know that we thank you for your donations. For every item you donate, the Friends are able to generate $1.27 revenue to the library because of your generosity. Okay, then we do other studies. Obviously, space is the final frontier. It's also key. We have a small storage space. You might as well. And you want to study it because it's very, very valuable. Every square inch is valuable. So you want to understand your storage space and what it's used for. As an architect, I think it was mentioned in the introduction, was able to measure every square inch of the shelf space that we use. And I was able to put together a little graph there that you see. Our Amazon merchandise had 21% of space allocated and produced 13.5% of your revenue. That's much higher now. Shop merchandise occupied about half of our storage room and produced 84.5% of our revenue. That's excellent. Here's the thing, 25-cent sales merchandise, which we store in our little storage room, took up 33% of the space and produced 2% of the fiscal year revenue. So what did this mean to us? Okay, in doing a study like this, it opened up revelation. And basically that is that we want to have smaller 25-cent sales. They're great community things, but at 33% of the available space, producing 2% of the revenue, we want to definitely shorten the amount of space that we allocated toward that and increased shop and Amazon merchandise space in our sorting room so that the revenue goes with the space. Also, too, we have fire and safety compliance. So, stacked up items are a tripping hazard, and bulky, out-of-date carts are also a problem. You're probably going to inherit those from the library to start out with. And they are hard to maneuver and they can be hazardous. And anyways, basically what we got to was safety of volunteers, key issue. Most of our volunteers are older. You might probably find the same. We want to protect their health and we want to make sure that they're safe. One of the key things we did, and I recommend it highly, is to make an investment. These are U-line carts. They wheel very easily. They're safe. They're no trouble on the back. There's a lot of stuff in the back of these units. We wheel them from side to side so we can gain access. They're easy to move, and they're a great investment, capital investment to make in the shop. And when you're at a point when you can do this, I highly recommend that you go ahead, again, purchase through Uline, and purchase a few of these carts, whatever your usage requires, but they will save a lot of wear and tear on your volunteers and also your manager. Okay, so shop categories. We talk about all the things we do in the shop, and it's really an interesting shop. So we have a dozen shop department heads who handle 150 categories. People love our shop. They come in, they can always say, I'm looking for something. I can always find something in your shop. This is how we've evolved over the year, and we're all proud of that. And people who come in our shop love it. This is a category list, our category list of what we have. And a lot of these are grouped together under shop department heads. They have more than, one of these categories, obviously, because there's quite a few categories here. Just wanted to give you an idea of these are the aisle numbers that we put them in so that we can direct the customer who's looking for a particular subject where to go. But it's an extensive collection of categories, and we find it to make a very diverse bookshop. So now I'm just going to go through a quick tour of our shop, sorting room, and online sales rooms. I'll make this kind of quick because I realize that we're getting toward that hour here. This is basically our shop, which is 800 square feet. We moved from a previous shop in the down the hall where our cafe is now to a better space nearer the lobby entrance. And it was fortuitous because a lot of the weekend people came in and all of a sudden said, oh, there's a bookshop here. So this was great for us to be in a better location. We had a great, one of our great boards had a director who was worked directly with the library board of trustees. And we were able, in a redesign of our floor here at the library, which happens periodically, they redesigned a floor that we were able to procure a better space based on our growing revenues. So it was a win-win situation. And in our shop, we have a lot of cool stuff. This is part of our children's section. One of the nice things here is this large built-in that you see. It's custom built. It was one of my dreams when I designed the shop to have this done. And I asked for years and years. People said they were tired, had a workshop where they built things. If hey, could you build something for me? And finally, after about 5 years of asking, one of our great volunteers ponied up and built this beautiful custom design browsing shelf for us. Different widths, different height books can be accommodated, kind of a wonderful thing. So persistence pays off, and again, great volunteers will do great things. Also, the same person built these custom racks for the DVDs for us. There's bookshop stuff below, but DVDs need to be viewed at a certain height, as do large print books. Large print books cannot be put on a bottom shelf or a shelf that's too high. They need to be at eye level. So just great things happening there with volunteers and persistence in trying to ask them if they could possibly help us out. Okay, here's our sorting room. Boy, oh boy, you can see what goes on in here. Our donations are below the upper left picture there, and media occupies the area right above them where we sort it out, and that goes into the store. Below that, in the lower left, you can see one of our large banks of shelving. This is, we color code everything. The yellow boxes are children's. And we also have, below that, we have all of our Amazon signed books in these black bins, and also on the bottom black bins. So a lot of things go on the shelves, shop department boxes, etc. I wanted to go to the upper right corner to show you how we utilize our bottom space in the sorting room, because there's nothing worse than trying to get boxes underneath a bottom shelf. We did this backbreakingly for years until we again modernized, and we went out and bought these platforms which the modular bins fit onto, and they roll very easily, and we're able to contain a large amount of items in it. One bank has the non-barcode books that we could just easily put this kind of stuff into. Again, it's a capital expenditure. You're not going to be making it right away, but when things start to build up and you need to access every inch of space safely, this kind of rolling tray with the modular bin that fits right in it is just an essential. And let's see, the bottom picture here is again the other side of what we looked at with the shop department heads boxes that we have. And again, everything's color coded. You can see the color code tape we use on the left there. So a lot of stuff goes on in our sorting room. You can see from backward from the sorting room diagram exactly what all this stuff is. But I just thought I'd capture a few photos of the kinds of things we do. The bottom left picture shows my desk there at the window, and I can see into the shop from my desk as well, which I have an open door policy. So I'm looking at the cashier and the people in the shop every hour that I am here, unless I'm busy somewhere else in the library. This is our online sales room. It's small, but what it does is it captures a few pictures of how we store alphabetically books that are listed online, and we categorize those into eBay, which is kind of on the right side. You can see all of that media and stuff, which is eBay. And then starting with A and the bookshelf next to it and going around the room, we have oversized books on one large shelf, regular sized books on most of it, then tiny pamphlet size go into a file cabinet. So just a couple other thoughts to end up here for you. We keep a pass-along book at the desk, which is kind of what they use at hotels for passing along key information between shifts. Someone comes in and has a problem. I'm not here, let's say, and they want to pass along information to me. They will write a note in this book. When I come in the morning, I take a look at that book immediately to see what goes on, let's say on a weekend when I'm not here. I can catch up on anything that needs to be done, getting in touch with the customer, etc. This is kind of an important thing. It's also a means for me to communicate to every cashier something important that comes up that I'll type up and I'll just paste into the book. And each cashier looks in that book before the beginning of their shift. It's called the pass along book. Also at the desk, we use a setup bank. Money goes into our register each morning. And we use 25s, 31s, and a roll of quarters, nickels, and pennies. We don't use dimes. We found that we had as many dimes at the end of the day as we do at the beginning, so that's useful for you to know. And we have an exchange bank where if someone comes in and has a $50 bill and we don't have that kind of money in the register in our setup, we can go to the exchange bank, put a $50 bill in there and take 5 10s out, for instance. So we use that as well. That's available for our cashiers. Forms we use, we have a ton of forms, obviously. We have Friends membership forms, seniors, youth, individual, family, sustaining, and ex libris going at different rates. We have our bookshop sales bookmarks, which have our 25-cent sales. We have Friends only 50% off sales. I might have mentioned that, perks becoming a friend. And then we have Black Friday, where it's 50% off for everybody. We have a bookmark at the desk that has our shop winter hours and our shop regular hours and what we sell in the shop, which comes in handy. We make volunteer badges, and we have 3 different kinds of badges for our new volunteers. Volunteers who have been here 1 to 5 years get a silver badge, 5 years and plus get a gold badge, and then for every 5 years they get a gold star in addition to the gold badge. And it's just kind of a nice way to recognize our volunteers. We also have forms for, since the register keeps track of all the transactions, occasionally someone does want a receipt for their book. We can't tear it off the register, so we do have a cash purchase receipt form we can give them, which is a separate form. When a dealer comes in, they have to fill out a dealer information slip with the time and date and amount of transaction. And we also reserve books for friends as a perk and also for volunteers, but not for the public. So we have a reserve book form. We also have a list of authorized dealers at the desk. As a dealer comes in, we ask them for their tax exempt number. We keep all of this stuff on file. There's a list of verified dealers at the desk, so our cashiers can cross-reference that when they come in. Again, we also have manuals. We have cheat sheets for the registers. We have manuals for the cashiers. We have a manual for the sorting room, and I'm now polishing up our online sales manual. We also keep a list of friends, a current friends list every 2 weeks at the desk, which has all of our friends. So when someone comes in and says, I'm a friend, we say last name, please. We can access this list and verify that we have them on record, and we can see what level of friend that they are. So I guess that basically what wraps up my slideshow for today. And I was very happy to be able to present this. And thank you once again to Nyla and everybody that helped set it up. And I will be getting out a PDF for everybody with all of the slides and all of these forms and all of these documents that we use as a reference. And that will be coming as soon as I possibly can. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much. Thank you so much, Jeff. Those materials will be available in the Google folder that everyone will have access to at the end of conference. So this concludes the NYLA 2020 on-demand program, best practices for a friends-operated bookstore. We hope you continue to take advantage of all the on-demand and live programs the NYLA 2020 annual virtual conference has to offer. Thank you for helping us make this the best virtual conference ever. Thanks so much.